All right. Now I'm nervous. Okay. My name is Kingsley. I am, well, homie, dear friend, and I guess client, collaborator, lonely boy. He recently described me as a cultural curator. So we'll just say that. Community first, advocating for folks, and pooling resources to share their stories. Yeah, I guess I could shout out Lonely Boy again. Um, Artists who know what it is that they want and they advocate for themselves, or even they acknowledge that they may not necessarily know what it is that they're trying to do, but they're looking for that support. Or they want to advance, what it is the artistic career that motivates me to continue doing what I do. Um, and yeah, just I think just having the privilege of working with so many folks and collaborating with them and them trusting me enough to be part of their journeys, that in itself is like inspiration, motivating factor. I'm not trying to sound cliche, but like that's really it, because it's a really vulnerable process, and I'm constantly inspired by folks, and I know a lot of talented people, so each and every one of them. It's interesting. I want to shout out the person who said it. I can't remember who it was. They asked me to introduce myself, and I say, "Oh, I'm not an artist, but I work with artists." And they're like, "Shut up! Yes, you are." So when it comes to artistry and creativity, I guess it's something that I'm just now acknowledging that I have as pretty dope ideas. You haven't seen them all yet, but when it comes to that process, um, I don't know. I think I'm still trying to figure that out, but I'm learning more and more to like not having to compromise myself in situations, whether it's my own individual projects or I'm collaborating with somebody, um, offering like ideas and advice and whatnot. And even if they're not necessarily like receptive to it, just knowing that like I can do that or I can share those ideas. That probably doesn't answer your question because I really don't have a process, but I think just the whole not compromising. Yeah. Yeah, that really doesn't answer the question. I'm sorry. I don't know. Yes. And okay, and I guess back to that, like for folks who knew me like the past few years, like before like mid 2020 and all 2022, sorry, and all that, I was a yes person. I'd say yes to everything. And even if me and that person, not saying that they're bad or that I'm bad, even if we our personalities didn't necessarily weren't compatible, or even being in dangerous situations and stuff like that, working with certain folks, I would just say yes. And it's like a people pleasing thing. And that's problematic on my part because if I'm saying yes to everybody, it's not only a disservice to these folks, whether the people that like I generally do want to work with, or even the people that I don't. I feel like it's a disservice to myself as well too. So the boundary setting and being able to kind of evaluate, like, I do actually want to work with this person, and even if I don't want to work with somebody or collaborate, um, being able to provide them with resources for them to kind of figure it out on their own. I never want to gatekeep and whatnot, but having, I think, more autonomy. Um, and if it just feels good, I'm a very spiritual person. I light my candles, I worship the moon, I have the moon tatted on my back, you know? If it feels, if it's in the stars, then yeah. Again, yeah, this is recent because going back to me saying yes all the time, I saw it more of like a task, like very daunting. I'm privileged to say that everything that I do, again, advocacy in the arts, whether it's grant writing, coming on for contract labor and all that, it's all within the framework of arts and culture. So it keeps the lights on. But before I kind of like resented it in a way, like because I was saying yes to so much. I went from like really loving doing what I do and then not so much. again, I think going back to that boundary part of it, feeling like that fulfillment. And not, I'm not trying to sound like I'm some savior complex either. Like, oh, I feel so fulfilled helping this person get money. Like, but um, yeah, just knowing that these folks' stories are like getting the proper like attention or just like resources, because the attention, like the clouds or the visibility, like that can always be improved. There's always so many more eyes or ears, hearts, spirits that'll be touched by this, and minds. And then also, like, I recognize it's a collective effort as well too. Like, it's not just me. It's like I cannot do my work without the people's stories, without their own art, without their own passions, and whatever it is, the reason why they do what they do, whether it's the form of music, visual arts, spoken word, all of the things. That's off of the strength of them. So it's not just, I'd like to see, like, when I am collaborating with folks, it's not just benefiting me, or paying my rent per se and for me to survive, but also for them as well. That's why I do what I do. And then also just taking on more opportunities. Like, I call them like side quests and stuff. I guess I can't share some of the things I'm doing now. They're like low key, but like doing evaluation things and jury work, or doing some dope art stuff on the side. Because I have like the brain for it, but I'm always, I think that's what I'm, the whole like therapeutic part of it. Like, I'm now honoring just hearing all of these different stories, and seeing how folks like their processes and whatnot better informs me. I think how to deal with mine in a way. Like, I may like sometimes like low key write like a rhyme or a rap. Am I ever gonna put that out? No, but just the confidence and like the strength that folks have to do that, to go into the booth and then to go into perform and whatnot and apply themselves, like that like inspires me. And I don't necessarily have to do all this stuff for profit either. So like just those moments are a bit like fulfilling and whatnot. Will I release a diss track? Maybe. Some full circle moments for sure. It started like, yeah, with like my practice and whatnot. I first was introduced to like concerts and like the music industry, music scene through my mom. Could never really afford, or whenever, like, yeah, we traveled out of the city, she always said, be a tourist in your own city. She'd take me to concerts and whatnot. So then being able from there as a young kid, so it grew into my teens, I could volunteer. One of them being Blues Fest. And I've done that from the beginning when I was 15, like when it first opened, until even like when I was in college and I lived like 4 or 5 hours away, I'd still come back in the summers. And then the full circle moment was being able to work with them last year on that contract where I met you. Hey. So being able to, and I've had a couple other of those moments as well, like people I might have like listened to or like met back in the day, and I'm like, I really want to work with this person, and then in some way I'm connected to them now, or still, or had the chance to work with them. So I think that I've seen that a lot, and that I think keeps me going as well, because there's so many. I'm like honoring that inner child within me. So I think, again, back to what I was initially saying with the boundaries, saying yes. And it's funny, like when we are in school, I studied like music business and whatnot. They'd be like, say yes to everything, and that maybe served me when I was a bit more like naive and whatnot. But now I'm able to have more of that autonomy for myself. So there's a lot of growth there, and that informs how I take care of myself, therapy, or like just, yeah, self care and wellness. So having that autonomy, and then also being able to honor their child, meet dope people. That was so pathetic. Along the way, like yourself. Um, so those are the ways that I've seen it so far. Oh, and manifest. Oh my gosh. Oh, oh my gosh. Just even speaking about it, like for just manifesting certain things. The first events that I'd ever done, I put on like was with my ex, like in Atlanta and then in Cleveland and things like that. And I was doing all these things out of pocket, racking up credit card debt at like 18, 19. I had no business having that much money. And then now, when I'm in these spaces, I'm getting paid to go down there. And that's not to say that I'm still not, still giving back to the community, still doing things for free and whatnot, but like on my terms too. Um, and even this most recent program that I'm part of, Key Change, that's taken me to Belgium, the UK, and Germany. I had told myself I'm gonna go to the motherland before I ever before I ever touch the colonizer cockpit of a place. Okay, you can keep that in. I don't care. It's the facts. And I did that 2019, and I was like, you know what? Let's up this. Let's take this to another notch. I'm going to if I ever go to Europe, anywhere in Europe, the UK, whatever the heck they want to call themselves, they have to pay for it. And it happened. So that's how it's evolved. It's like literally just manifestation, honoring my inner child, and boundaries. That's my answer. I'm so sorry. So long. I feel like a lot of folks can resonate with this, even outside of the arts practice, just their day to day life. Um, when they don't necessarily ask for help until like shit hits the fan and then hits the ground and you're at like the bottom. And that was for me just, I guess, navigating my arts practice. Going back to a common theme was just being like a guest person. And even things that I may have not necessarily been comfortable with doing. Not saying that those folks were necessarily bad or whatever, just me personally. Um, I might have not really aligned with some of the messages that they're sharing, but just ultimately thinking that, like, everybody's worthy of having the same resources and whatnot. It was more of like a quality thing than an equity thing. Ugh, anyways, so that was a huge challenge. Is the burnout, constantly saying yes, not making room for really anything else, not making room for myself, my family, or my partner, and not making room for things that actually mattered to me, and also letting down folks in the process. Like I'm balancing all of these things and I'm coming up short on a lot of these things because I simply can't say no. So that was a huge challenge. And I didn't get to that. I mean, that realization until I was severely ill. Um, and that was not good. Luckily, after going through those motions and whatnot, I got clinical support, um, and got more back in tune with my own spirituality too. But that was a huge, huge challenge for sure. And then another thing also, I think managing expectations for folks too. I'm not saying that I don't run into challenges anymore, but a lot of the work that, well, at least pays my bills and stuff like that is very based on like grants, money, and folks may have brilliant ideas, and whether it's the jury's not valuing their ideas, or maybe I didn't write as good as I could have or whatever, and us not getting that funding, it's that expectation there, and just letting down somebody in that capacity. When you write these grants, when folks apply to them, it's not necessarily just to support their own arts practice. It's also the things that evolve around that. So basic survival, rent, childcare needs. So I think dealing with that rejection, that's been a bit difficult. And I think that's I have a really good high success rate. So, but it's not just about me; it's about the folks that I am working with. So that's a constant challenge that I will, face like once in the blue moon. Again, high success rate, but again, the implications that come with that, and realizing that it's not just me that it's affecting. Clearly, it's affecting the folks that I'm working with. Yeah, that's my answer. I think. It goes back to the when I was going on the whole spiel with like the full circle moments, honoring my inner child, manifestation, spirituality, boundaries, all of that. So, yeah, I can just copy and paste that or no? Fine. I think realizing that, yo, when I did this was like 2018, and it was my first like work trip outside of like Canada, US. We went down to Cuba, and it wasn't necessarily for profit. I got, things were comped to like my accommodations and stuff. But I was doing a visual arts tour for my homie Hill, Head Over Hill, shout out, Queen. And it was a challenge, of course, but while we were doing all that, and I had one of the greatest weeks of my life, I came home to like an eviction notice. Or it's like the pre-eviction notice where they're like, we're going to evict you, but not yet. And I was just like, God damn, I was in school full time. I was like working, doing, and I was like, I'm loving life. This is what I want to do, but like, holy shit. Like that's when reality hit. Because I had missed a significant number of payments and whatnot. And then fast forward to now, I'm able to live off of again like that thrill, like that trip that we had in Cuba, for like hitchhiking, and we were that was the highlight. That was pretty dope part. And connecting with so many folks from yeah different backgrounds and their own respective art practices, and just that thrill and being able to like kind of relive that with all of the projects that I am part of now, but with still roof over my head, no eviction notices, and still being able to freaking travel. Um, though these moments that I'm constantly living them, that's how I know like yeah, like you're making it. There's still like ways to go, but I don't want to say like oh this is just the beginning. Like, no, the beginning was fun time, and this has been a lot of trial and error, but being actually receptive to that. And I feel like I've grown a lot there. So that personal growth for sure. And I didn't do it alone. There's no such thing as like self-made. Like there's so many brilliant folks that I've met along the way, whether we're still friends or like we work together or not, like collaborators, or we no longer for whatever reasons, whether it's personal reasons or we drifted away. Each one of those experiences I credit for like where I am. And when it comes to specific examples, I love how all of a sudden I can't think of anything when there's always so much stuff on the go. But ooh, just here in Ottawa, like people like to talk shit about Ottawa. Yeah, I'm an Ottawa girl, Vanier reppin', then moved to the West End. Let's go. Um, and the fact that I do get interest, of course, still working with folks like indie folks and emerging people in the States, and then in like Toronto and whatnot. Ottawa keeps me booked and fucking busy. And yeah, it's not Montreal, Toronto, LA, New York, whatever the fuck. But I'm able to take everything that I've learned here and then do the dope shit over there and all those other spaces, and then vice versa as well. I can all of my travels, like this trip I'm about to do in Germany and the speaking that I did back in the UK and blah blah blah. I've been able to pour that in back into the city as much as like try to or whatnot, my capacities and stuff. And I think that's so fulfilling there. And again, not on some like weird savior complex, but just being able to like leave Ottawa back in like 2016. I really resented this place, like my own personal stuff. And then when I moved back, like at first I was like, meh, it's gonna be like really temporary. It's gonna be like a month type of thing. And then I fell back in love with it. So I see that as a win. Being able to, I know a lot of folks like shit on this place and they just want to like leave. And yeah, go ahead and do that if you have the means to do that. Fuck yeah. And like I'm my plan on doing that too eventually, not anytime soon. Don't worry. But being able to actually enjoy the present, like physically where I'm at, and being able to love what it is that I do, love like who I'm with, Nikisha. Shout out to my wife, and really fuck with the people that I work with. I think that's a massive fucking win, and that's priceless. Like can't put a number on that. And yeah. Another full circle moment is, oh my gosh, like Belly, Ottawa, well, Palestinian born, free Palestine from the river to the sea. Um, Listened to him like growing up. He was always, I think, what, Playa and Iron, all that stuff, rappers based, what, the South and whatnot. And now he's like coming back to Ottawa, and I had the privilege of partnering with the Cranium Arts Project to make that happen, as well as shout out to Rebecca Dixon, B-Side Agency, also like a cultural connector, manager of Lonely Boy as well. So we put our heads together and we worked on bringing him here. I do want to shout out to a Creative Arts Project as well. They're celebrating 5 years in conjunction with 50 years of hip hop in the Ottawa-Gatineau region and all across the world. One thing that I really, really appreciate about working within the city is just the generational collaborations and whatnot. There's the older heads, the OGs, looking down to the younger folks, for support and input, and then vice versa as well. Not saying that there isn't gatekeeping here. From my privileges, I haven't really experienced that much of it. So just being able to experience all that. So it's been really grateful to work with Cranium and so many of the other dope folks I work with as well. So yeah. I'm finding that balance now. Um, Shout out to Somerset West Community Health Center. They always do dope, forward thinking, just initiatives. They have like what is it called? Safe injection site. Like they're ahead of the curve, you know what I mean? For like a lot of stuff. And they had a dope, I think it was close to Black folks. Yeah, it was like a art therapy. It was my first time participating in something like that as well, where they mailed like a massive box of like crayons, clay, all the things. I don't know the words for them. You do, but just artsy stuff. And I still have that box because there's just so much. And I think the session, like, I think only 8, 10 sessions, but they had a lot. So I think that was what helped me reintegrate into doing stuff for myself. And yeah, we were given prompts and whatnot, but I find myself like getting back to coloring, or like, I know this isn't really art, but like I'm a word search girl and a crosswords girl. I love my game shows and stuff. That's a whole other conversation. But just finding that joy and like again, like I don't have to profit or like hustle culture. Like I'm up at like when it's dark at like 5 a.m. and I don't like stop work until it's dark. Like wow, can't be me. It was me. And then I was hospitalized, but again, like, um, and then also understanding capitalism and the reason why folks do what they want for survival. But like, if you have the opportunity to not, the chance to kind of like not and pour into yourself, fucking take that. And not having to worry about like those expectations of like, I can create this piece or I can just color outside of the lines because I fucking want to, and like that freedom there. Yo, collage making, or just like, yeah, seeking out like little activities or like happenings that are like happening in random little cafes like in Ottawa. Like Google's your friend, Eventbrite is your friend, you know? So being able to strike that balance where it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna like sit in this cafe and like do some collage making. The expectation is there's none. That's what's just so great. And it's not to say that like, yeah, there are still situations that I might have to like compromise myself or like and like my time, or I don't have that time because like it is crunch time. I do have like these deadlines to meet, but it's like I can still see like the end almost of that, where it's like, okay, maybe it's like 4 months I have to put my head down or whatever. But within that, I am going to at least maybe a Sunday morning. I'll take random days off, like Mondays. Who the fuck takes a Monday off? And maybe I'll dedicate some of that to just coloring or collage making. I haven't made these things public yet, but do I have to? So I think striking those balances there and also being in tune and listening to myself too, knowing the signs before I thought I could just not listen. Look where that landed me. So yeah. No. Oh my gosh, and going to events and stuff. There's always, "Oh, I was so boring." Well, can't relate. Like my social battery is by Sunday night or Sunday, I'm crying because I'm just so overwhelmed with so much going on here. And like you just have to. That's another thing I guess we'll have to work on collectively is reaching out to folks who maybe don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? So that they can enjoy the things that we enjoy here in the city. But if I can't necessarily make the art and whatnot, is being able to take in and love all the music, the visual arts, the film, all of the things that are happening in the city that I like to call home. And that's a balance for me as well. If I can't necessarily do the creating, there is going to be something. Except for if it's February. Like, yeah, it's Black History Month, but bitch, it's cold. We have no business being outside. So, yeah, that's my answer. Ooh. I've been using the term collaboration a lot. When it comes to working with folks, I don't like immediately when they reach out to work. Yeah, we can think about like grants and stuff to get, but who else can we bring onto the project as well? So that connectedness, um, and maybe that sense of like a community where they may already have like their communities and who they go to already, but maybe we can approach it from a different angle. Those same folks, um, making sure everybody gets paid, and just putting folks on. So I guess definitely like that community building there becomes just very like natural. It's like we can all eat, you know. When it comes to like getting grants and stuff, it's that story. Like I'm just helping you like kind of contextualize it. You already have the story. You already have what it is that you want to do. You just may not necessarily want to do the daunting paperwork or typing it up. It's tedious, you know, Olivia, you know, if you flip the camera around, you know. So being able to kind of alleviate that burden for someone, and I've had folks where we're working on a grant or we're going through the process, or even before that, we're doing our introductory, and they just start bawling in the call, you know, and it's emotional because they're like, I just don't know how to communicate what it is that I'm trying to do, and I'm really struggling. I'm really passionate about that. And that doesn't necessarily make me feel better, like, oh, let me save you, Captain Save-A-Ho or something, but like being able to still connect them with resources. Um, I'd like to think, and like helping them platform their stories and their art and creativity. I'd like to think that that does help them somewhat in their well being, especially if it's contributing to rent, because we all got to eat. Folks working 3, 4 jobs while creating, like kudos to you. Like, damn, it shouldn't have to be like that to begin with, but that's unfortunately the reality. We burn the shit down. I guess I want to say it because, manifestation. And fingers crossed, all this money still comes in. But I'm planning on starting like my own grant. But it's gonna be for wellness. It's gonna be called, cause you know like the whole like live, laugh, love. Okay, live, laugh, love yourself. Ah! So it's like for folks, they're gonna be able to write a grant, but it's like fuck work. It's like how are you gonna take care of yourself? And I want to do that annually. So that's how I see it as evolving, is just provide, not even providing, but just like connecting with other folks to like all pool our resources to continue to elevate one another. So that's something I'm really excited for. I know this isn't the art itself, but I'm retiring my mama. That's the goal, that's the plan. It's not a dream, it's reality. So it's having to do whatever it is that I have to do within myself to make sure that like I'm equipped to do what it is that I got to do to hustle for that. Um, so that's like say like the end there, and then in the middle of all the shit ripped. In the middle of all of that is doing more programming opportunities. I've one of the things that I guess it's a blessing and a curse, and I set myself up in this way is that a lot of folks they just when they hear about Kingsley or they want to work with me, it's always in the grant context, and it's like yeah, it's a blessing there because it's like I'll always be booked and busy, even with the rise of AI. But like, I do so much more than that, and I want to be given those opportunities to do that. So I think being able to hone in to more of that, um, that's a huge. Those are like my aspirations, my goals there, and what I will be working on, and just doing more of that stuff. Again, putting more folks on and whatnot, and curating experiences. So that's I realized like programming, I think, is like a passion of mine. And in addition to grants, securing that bag, being able to curate experiences and network with folks and connect with folks, putting them on whether they are from, Ottawa or from wherever the fuck. Um, being able to hone more into like those opportunities there outside of just looking at a damn screen and crunching numbers and grants. I think this is a conversation, an internal dialogue that you could have with yourself from time to time. Is asking like, why are you doing this, or maybe like what the end goal is. And I know that seems like very big, but is it strictly just for the fuck of it, whatever, or is it like profit with the end of it? At the end of it, because both I feel like may come with their own pros and cons. So I think my advice there is, yeah, having that dialogue, being also receptive to folks who are around you. Cut out that self-made bullshit, the fuck. Um, Going for it, and don't say yes all the damn time. Also, enough with this like vertical like mentorship and whatever, which is like fine, but like being able to reach out to folks like you know to the side, um, regardless of like maybe how many numbers that they have. Again, I'm speaking in like a music context or whatever like their CV or resume looks like. Understand that whatever it is that you are doing, especially in the music sense, the shit's always evolving. Trust your gut too. There's so many moments where I just didn't trust my gut, but I'm like, I'm gonna give people the benefit of the doubt, and then you're hospitalized. It's not fun. So, yeah. My name is Kingsley. This has been very reflective. These are some deep questions that I'm going to ponder, and I'll probably have an answer for you in like 3 weeks after editing's done. But it's been a privilege to be part of this, a privilege to be your friend. Shout out to the moon, the ancestors, creator, all of that. Shout out to In Bloom Space as well. Art is therapy, not just for profit. It's for rest and wellness, so much more. Yeah. All right. Peace.